In this lesson, we're going to build a track prefab and build a very simple track. Alright, so to get started here, let's go ahead and create a game object in our scene. And we're going to create other, and we're going to create a quad. Now, if you're using an older version of Unity, you may not see that quad game object. You may have to come in and upgrade your Unity to 4.2, which is what we're using here. And we really recommend doing that. So now that I have this quad set in space, I'm going to zero it out in 3D space, and then I'm going to hit F to frame in on that object, and then I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees on the X. Now we're creating a top-down driving game, so I want the face of that quad to be facing upward. Let's go ahead and give this a name. I'm going to call this PFB for prefab, and then underscore track. And then let's go ahead and assign a material to it. So let's go to our materials and let's do the track grass material. Now once that has been applied, I'm going to scale it up from this 1 to 1, and we're going to scale it up by 4. So let's do 4 in the X and 4 in the Y. Now the reason that I want to scale it up is because the player car is going to be set to that 1-to-1 scale. So with this, now we need to take care of the mesh collider. Now the mesh collider is great, except it can be very costly, especially if we have lots and lots of polygons on an object. And really, it's better to use a box collider. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a component, physics box collider. It's going to ask me if I want to replace, and I'm going to hit yes, or replace. Now whenever you add a box collider, it tries to fit to the mesh object. And you can see here on the Z, it's giving us a random number, and it's really, really small. So what we want to do is we want to remove that number and type in 0.25. And that will give us plenty of thickness for this track object. Now if you want, you can go up a little bit higher, but I think this is going to be plenty for us. Alright, so now that we have this set, we want to make this an actual prefab object. Just because we named it PFB doesn't mean that it's a prefab. In order to create a prefab, we go to our prefabs folder, and then we right-click, create prefab. Let's give this a name, and I'm going to call this PFB underscore track. Okay, the same name that I gave the object before. Let's drag and drop this object from the hierarchy panel into the project panel on top of our PFB track prefab. Now once we've dragged that on there, you'll see that the icon has been fulfilled, giving us a little bit of a preview of what that prefab is. You'll also notice that the text in your hierarchy has turned blue. So now that we have this prefab set, we have our position at 0, 0, and 0. Let's start creating our first track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate out this grass tile 10 times in one direction, and then I'm going to take all of those and duplicate those out 10 times in the other direction. So to duplicate, let's hit Control and D, and then we're going to hold down Control and drag that out, and it's going to snap until it reaches the end of that object. So now that we have duplicated those two, let's select both of them and hit Control D, and while still holding Control, let's move that out until it snaps. Then we'll select all of those, hit Control D, and pull those out. And then now that I have 8, I'm going to go ahead and select just 2, hit Control D, and then duplicate that out, okay, or snap that out. Now let's select all of these and hit Control D, and we're just going to hold Control and continue to snap those into position. Control D, still holding Control and moving that out. So we're going to do this until we get 10 rows. So right now we have 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, great. So now we have the track area set up. And what we want to do at this point is we want to begin assigning materials to this. Now, let me do a quick count really quickly. I want to make sure that I have all this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We need one more. Sorry about that. I knew that looked a little off. So now we have a 10 by 10. Okay, so now let's assign the materials that we need to create our track. So let's go to our materials folder, and let's drag and drop the track start somewhere in our scene. So I'm going to drag and drop this material. Let's go up, let's say 4 from the bottom here. And then I'm going to drag and drop a straight material right here above it. Let's do 2 of those. Now really quickly, I want you to notice is that the material is going sideways. Now all we have to do is just rotate the prefab object. So select these 2 objects at the same time, and in your Y, just simply type in 90, and that will straighten those out properly. Now let's go to the track curve and drag that right here, and you'll see that the curve is not matching up either. So let's take this and let's drag it out. Let's type in 180, and you'll see that that's now turning off in this direction. Let's drag in the straight pieces, and we'll do 2 of those with a curve, and then we'll do another curve right here, and we'll go ahead and we'll rotate this, I believe 90, it's going to be -90. There we go. And we'll drag in the straight pieces again with a curve, and we're going to curve that back up this direction. And let's do 90. And then another curve on top of that, which is going to be 180. Make sure that you have the correct one selected before you type that in. As I've done just a couple of times there, just about turned the wrong direction on those. So we're going to go out to past the end here, and then we'll do a curve right there. And you know what, I tell you what, let's do a straight on that one. Let's make it a little bit longer, and then we'll do a curve, and we're going to curve the other way. So let's make sure that this is set to, I believe, -90. It's going to be the correct direction, yes. We'll do our straight pieces, and I'm going to come down. Let's do 3 or 4. We have plenty of room. You can create it as an elaborate track as you want to. And then with all of these, notice that they're turned to the side. Let's go ahead and just type in 90 on all of those, and that has those set. Let's do another curve piece right here, and then we'll do these straight track pieces. And then let's do 3, and then we'll do a curve. And then this one we're going to type in 180, and then straight track, and then another curve, and we'll do a straight one here, and then a curve, and then we'll meet right up into this position here. So we have this one and this one that need turned. So we'll do 90, and then this one needs turned as well, 90 degrees. All right, so a pretty simple track. You don't really have to do any tight turns like that if you don't want to. You can create any shape of track that you want. You can go as elaborate as you like, but we're going to keep things kind of simple for the series, as we're just going to take you through the steps of creating the technical aspects of the game. So now that we have our track set up, what we want to do at this point is we want to start detailing out the track. You can add in some barriers, and you can add in plants and trees and things like that, as they are all part of the sprite sheet. Now in our next lesson, I'm going to show you how to create a barrier and then show you how to set it up using the box colliders and putting that onto the track. And then you can take that information and you can take plants and you can scatter plants and trees throughout the level if you like, but I'm not going to do that in this particular course. So we're going to go ahead and get started with creating the barriers, prefabs, and setting those up next.